I think we should get started. Please take your seats and let's get started. Hello, good evening. Thank you for coming. I guess things cannot always be perfect. Uh, I, I'm actually a person who's been very spoiled. I think life is always perfect. Working with Jane Cortez, organizing these wonderful events, and I just sit back and I'm realizing, the truth in the hard way that she's not here. Uh, this event really, we have been trying to put it together. We did not know how to go about it. Uh, Mel Edward and myself, Denardo, Randy Weston, uh, Zaira Placide, we've been thinking about doing something, and we thought of all kind of scenarios, but it was not, we were not pulling it together until one day at the Cooper Union, at a memorial for Jane, uh, Amiri was there. And Amiri said, instead of always coming to cry about people saying, telling stories, you should just bring poets together and let's have a poetry night. And I thought about it and traveled somewhere to Africa or someplace, and then I came back and I called Mel and Zaira back. I said, I think we should really take Amiri seriously. I remember one time Amiri ran into me in Greenwich Village. I just went to him and said, hello, Amiri, how you doing? He said, well, what you asking me for? I said, because, I want to know how you doing. He said, well, you haven't invited me at NYU. He used that word, like, head nigger in charge. so, uh, and, and I invited Amiri, and talking about things being perfect, he did artist in residence here. Some of you may have attended that. He told me he didn't invite me. I said, okay, come on. And he came and he brought many of these poets at that time and had an evening on poetry, an evening on music, which was incredible, and an evening just on the Black Art movement and the youth and so on. And it's one of the most memorable things that happened at NYU here. So when Amiri said, bring poets, let's celebrate Jane, I said, okay, Amiri, as usual, you organize it, I just pay you. And Amiri said, okay, so we were at Knickerbocker with Lynn Whitfield. And Lynn was at Howard University. Some of you may already know that, doing theater, and knew Baraka very well, very good relation. Everybody was very happy that evening. It's just, this was in the end of the semester, end of November, early December. So Amiri said, okay, I will do it. And all the people here, actually, Amiri invited them, talked to them, because you know how difficult it would have been for me to bring them, to pay them, to do all these things. But Amiri wrote to all of them, told them what was going to happen, and then Amiri left us. This is what I mean by, things can be perfect. Things cannot always be perfect. And I guess, I should get used to that now because I've been really spoiled by this group of people. Amiri, Ted Jones, Jane Cortez, Sonia Sanchez. Since the beginning when I came to this country, they just spoiled me, but I'm getting my hard reality slowly. Haki was somewhere here, and so on, Quincy. So, people who spoil you and you think that life is just perfect. It's easy. All you have to do is, say, I want this. And reality is here. I want to thank, of course, Mel Edward, who's somewhere here. Okay. Yes. Yes. Really great guy. That's all I can say. And a good friend. Mel's family is over here, Donaldo and his wife and child. It's, I'm told that Russ is going to be here at some point, but with the time, we don't know. And Sonia could not make it again with the weather. A few people dropped out because of the weather. Walter Mosley, Sonia, and they are in places where they stuck, they cannot travel. Sorry about that. And my sister, Dr. Rashida Ismail, poet, playwright, professor, but most of all, my sister. She's gonna run the evening. She volunteered for a long time ago, and she's just gonna take care of us. Rashida, the floor is yours.
I will. So, I think the first thing we have to do is to thank Jaira because it wasn't easy to pull this together, and she always does such a great job. So let's just thank Jaira Placide. And we have to acknowledge and be grateful for the presence of Amiri Baraka and Jane Cortez. And for those of us who had the pleasure of traveling with them all these years, maybe that history and those experiences, those times, will help us get through these moments of loss, the pain, etc. It you know it really isn't easy. Anyway, Jane and Amiri were like bookends for me because I could talk to Jane almost about anything, and she shared very, very, very much with me. But I could quarrel with both of them. We could argue back and forth, and you could say things, and they would understand. And sometimes you didn't have to say it, and you could call, and you could say, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And they were there, and they always gave a very wise advice, a very wise answer. So the poets and people that you see here are those who walked with both Amiri and Jane, and we want to also thank her families for sharing them, because when you think about it, a lot of times they were on the road. They'd come in from California, and 2 seconds later they were going somewhere else. And it does take, people miss their family members. And when you go somewhere and someone says, "Oh yeah, I saw da 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 da," and we have to thank them. We have to thank them for sharing them and for loving them, and giving them a loving space that they could do the work that we so greatly admire. And I thank all of you for coming, and I acknowledge all the writers who have come to show their respect to both Amiri Baraka and Jane Cortez. We have a very nicely put together program. So I thought, rather than taking time to introduce people, you could read their bios and rather give them that time to speak. Okay, so the first person who will speak is Sandy Maria Esteves.
Good evening, familia. I'd like to thank Jaira Placide and Baba Amiri Baraka Ibaye for inviting me. I am honored to be here. Maferifung Egun. We praise those who came before us and created the way. We thank you, Amiri Baraka Ibaye and Jane Cortez Ibaye. We have been blessed to have excellent teachers who were great poets. Modupwe Ashe. I'll be reading excerpts from two poems, the first written by Jane Cortez. And I apologize for the excerpts, but it's given a certain amount of time. Drums, everywhere drums. Drums that remain to boost your thighs in its radar, in its thump of a bass without being beggar. Sunlight, midnight, having to be barfly, having to be bullfrog, having to be banjo, having to be bongo, having to be pit-pat, having to be rubbed up, having to be rat-tat, having to be drum roll, having to be drums, drums. Burnt drums to clear the skin among dreams, drums flowing with the mask of tornadoes, drums made from rivers, made from a multiplication of dance steps, made from a rosette of orange rosin cradle cap, and revolution decorating its drum with memory grease made from Nat Turner's body. Drums preoccupied in cheeks of ancestors, drums twirling into footprints, into snare drums, into shoeshine rags, blowing into street octaves of liberation drums, of membranes close to the sun's memoirs. Cork and plantain drums, base oil drums, everywhere drums, everywhere drums. Drums brushing whiskers of imagination, drums grinding into steel, drumming with red palms of passion, drumming with villages in Mozambique, drums of acrobatic wombs, of bladders and trumpets engulfed in a drum of opening elbows, babbling Gorda drums holding faces of thumps in a quail of favelas, turbojetted throat drums, diaphragms of black diamond pearl drums, everywhere drums, everywhere drums. Crazy bone of my hyenic laughter drums, thrill of a triad of electro drums, drums in rubescent blaze, tall, cool, fine drums, cry drums, scream drums, dream interpretation of jungle spells and tenement fire drums, reaching for washboards of African blood drums, laughing drums, emerging drums, drums whispering, drums climbing, drums migrating into petals, and moves of finger-snapping tambourine drums, brick drums, crawfish drums, undulating armpit talking drums, Cubano drums, Iroko drums, and my wide-mouthed paradiddles of Odupwe drums, and those bragging drums of sparkling cans, and this bong-bong deep in the cowbell of Zimbabwe drums, and staccato beating drums crossing the Limpopo, crossing death drums, fork skin drumming against drums, drums, fierce drums, growling drums, roaring drums, echo drums over Mojo whoop whoop, eardrums, kicking drums, Wolof drums, drums made of dynamite, drums made from elephant yelps, Fulani drums, God drums, drums of ancient Mardi Gras, Fanti drums, Ashanti drums, Sanuku drums, and my indigo lip-smacking conga drums, tightening drum rhythms into Igbo godhouse rhythms of rattling, rattling rhythm drums, of drums to drums abreast. Cymbals of drums, dazzling with hummingbirds, with guava seeds, with cowrie shells, with cobalt and uranium, and mandingos on the road to Kokomo drums. Spit drums from Oduduwa drums, everywhere drums, everywhere drums, 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 everywhere drums. Amiri Baraka Ibaye was Iwapele, someone who had good character. Thank you, Baba Amiri, for including me. I wrote this poem in 2000 for Amiri Baraka. There is a trail that follows the sun that stretches from Africa to here. There is a trail across an ocean of millions and millions of bones, of ancestors calling, crying, moaning, screaming. I hear them in my dreams. I hear them calling our names. Teacher of thought, you remind us to remember who's gonna stoke the embers to keep the fires burning. Superior guide on tortured life journey, polarized at the midpoint of extremes. Mouthpiece for the spirit of our ancestors, the root in tree biology. We are the blossom and fruit. Beat missionary in service to the entire race of humanity, not blinded by differentiations of nationality, race, religion. Brotherhood embrace for our lost family, Noah's blues ark, dissipator of contrived force-fed illusions, giver of vision to the blind, a voice to the voiceless, trumpeting much-needed wake-up call, conjurer of sunrise spring before the summer of socialist beginnings, silk cocoon gestating butterfly, father of all children, whether natural or adopted, chief king in the word house of royalty, living candle on the life altar of offerings, truth warrior on the chariot of revolution, drum voice in the jazz concerto's freedom song, Coltrane's metaphor messenger, winged horse galloping across the conscience of a nation, inventor of the unimagined possibility, seer seed child in the mind of wisdom, lover of life, hater of the death penalty, enemy of random police brutality, friend of people's revolution, scribe of ancient hour stories sprouting into poems, advocate of the demilitarization of the Puerto Rican island of Vieques, speaking a global dialect of liberation tongues on the living stage of the mestizo human tribe, light prism refracting the unseen spectrum, protector of Godmother Temple and Goddess Self, exalted worshiper of moon duality, natural descendant of La Madre Tierra, in an eternal dance of fertility, rebirthing tribal deliverance from the primordial depths of existence, weaving together a new story quilt of community. There is a trail of bones across an ocean that follows the sun. There is a trail.
That was lovely. The next poet is Askia Toure.
Boy, packed house, how wonderful. It's an honor to be here with you this evening, holding up our great ones, our sister and our brother, our comrades who are now Egungun ancestors. Um, what it shows all of us is that we will not be here forever. But what I want to say about both of them is what Comandante Ernesto Che Guevara said. And if I fall, don't stand there mourning. Pick up my rifle. I say, I say. And I am so honored to see not only our comrades, we're elders. I was joking with Marvin. I said, you know, when the sister starts calling you sir, I said, oh man, and you get on the bus and ladies be giving you their seats, you know. I said, well, say, hey, so you know, but someone said, well, that means you're blessed, brother. You know, yeah. And it's hard to, I don't know, I guess you could feel Sister Jane and Amiri's energy still, you know? It's almost like you look at Amiri coming in the door making some kind of smart remark or something, and Jane just walking in majestically and so forth, you know? So wonderful, you know? And so, again, it's an honor, and I don't want to, they say you start getting older, you start going on and on and on. So, and tell, they say, excuse me, Baba, we heard that before. Start repeating yourself and so forth. So I'm going to be as brief as I can. I want to, in honor of Mary and our brothers, Baba, Ted, Quincy, and Marvin, and all of them, Haki. This is called Elder Song Reigning One for the Black Arts Brothers. And it's in the tradition of a great poet. Some of you may not have heard of him, but some of you may have, Amos Moore. Yes, and he read with our brother Larry Neal and Mary and I. I never forgot his voice. Old papas now, we slim men who cruised ominous avenues, radiating atmospheres of, quote, coolness, prime ministers of hip. Oh, papas now, we slim men who wore our depths and martial spirits to thunderous horns, syncopated swing, our moves forever outward into vast kaleidoscopes of joy. Hip men, eternal swingers, veterans of continuous culture wars with squares. Hip men, eternal swingers, visionary kings. Old papas now, juju men and horn magi, third eye sorcerers, righteous oracles of truth. Elders radiating maroon revolution among lost cowboys, low pants thugs, gunslingers whose shootouts always register murder in the black. Old papas now, the quote cool men of Almus Moore, transforming pain into pageantry, strung out melodies into gold, soul men of Coltrane's spirit, singing promise into freedom's lonely heart. I sure. And I'm very conscious of the time. So I don't want to be. one from my book, Mother Earth Responds. A few words in passing. The ancients were right. Our common delusions imprison us all, and our world becomes a modern gulag. But this is only a beginning. How are we to find what truly matters in life? We are indeed fortunate we have elders, Twa, Gagaju, Kung, of our human race, yogis, Sufis, lamas, babas, Zen masters, shamans, masters of the inner realms. Only we must initiate contact, seek them out, begin the soul's grand dialogue with self. Perhaps the rainforest can aid us on our paths. Perhaps the mountains, deserts, lakes, and the great oceans. Perhaps the ants, dragonflies, butterflies, perhaps our fellow mammals. We might seek counsel with dolphins, whales, the happy ones. Explain to brilliant ravens, sly crows, immaculate eagles, hawks, vultures, owls. Begin rigorous chats with wolves, bears, tigers, leopards, moose, rabbits, and otters. Beings on our great maternal planet, Elay the earth, speaking deep words, mirroring great truths, realigning beings, practicing divine harmony within the realm of being. My friend, when was your last conversation with the rain? Sure. And I'm going to end it, let's see, with a piece Miri always enjoyed. It's called Pharaoh Alchemy Legend 1, The Master Returns, Atlanta Invocation. He calls upon apocalypse, earthquakes, tornadoes as companions to twilight passion. A voice radiant, sublime, magical, part night, part firestorm, permits spirits to chant vivid dirges in Georgia forests of ubiquitous pines. Master Pharaoh Sanders cast his golden net and captured a star. Thousands witnessed this miracle. It was a rainy Saturday. I was there as amazed as the others. I saw a star's ruby core pulsing in shadows of visionary alchemy, sonic apocalypse, aural paradise, metaphysical harmonics, maitic crescendos, architectural vibrato, exploding demonics, releasing healing auras amid djembe juju, percussive rainbows, solar lunar eclipses, scarlet spirits, Holy Ghosts, dancing, prancing, soaring among alienated strangers, rabid races, battered wives, tarnished rebels, crushed dreamers, lost romantics, junkies, con men, cynics, and others among the, quote, lonely crowd wandering America, instantly healed, transformed, revitalized in a dialectical exorcism measured as love. Thank you, sister.
The next reader is Marvin X, and he is going to be accompanied by Henry Grimes.
Assalamu alaikum. Thankful for Henry accompanying me. And I just want to acknowledge some friends in the audience, Abi Odun. Abi Odun. And also one of my favorite critics, James Spady. James Spady. It's strange that these two poets, I knew one for 47 years, and I met Jane once, only once. Isn't life strange? But in that one meeting, the Barakas and I were out somewhere, some place where they like to eat, and I think when we got there, Mel and Jane were already there, and I didn't really recognize her because I hadn't met her before, and I saw Mel, and he was so humble and quiet. I had no idea what a great man he is and a great artist. And then I had a pamphlet with me, and I showed it to Jane, and she didn't say anything. She just looked at me like, nigga, pleased. And I can still see that look. I'll probably see that look for the rest of my life, the way she looked at me. I'm not even going to tell you the title of the pamphlet, but I have some in my bag if you want some when I finish. Now I'm going to read a couple of poems or three, and I'm saying these poems for not only Amiri, but for Amina as well. Have you heard a woman moan late into the night 'cause her man is gone? Have you heard a woman wail just before dawn 'cause her man is gone? Have you heard her cry, oh, Jesus, 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 before noontime because her man is gone? He wears hard gray pants. Stripes are really yellow. He wears hard gray pants. Stripes are really yellow. But when he starts to love me, he is so fine and mellow. Have you heard a woman cry 'cause her man is gone? She wanted to slap him one more time, but her man is gone. She wanted to tell him one more time what's on her mind, but her man is gone. She wanted to dig up his bones to kiss him one more time, but her man is gone. The coldest winter ever. The coldest winter ever. Arctic freeze comes south. Atlanta, 9 degrees in January. Newark drifts flow to ground like silent snow. Tears fall, all for A.B. Old poet left us this winter, and we are cold, naked in the snow, freezing, heart still, the shock of it all. We thought he would live forever, but foolish things confound minds. childish improprieties. No one has mastered death. Come back to tell us all, tell us all. Each time is something new to understand, to wonder why. How long shall we grieve this time? There's no closure ever. Time is the master of life and death. Where's my friend? Are snowflakes his ashes drifting down from some mystical heaven, letting us know he is still here, will be here forever? Winter, spring, summer, fall. Snowflakes are all the words he left us. They shall not disappear. Words beyond time, beyond seasons, beyond love and hate, they exist for the just and unjust. Unavoidable truths we shall discuss, debate, ponder, marvel at the genius of this mind who walked among us and departed in the coldest winter ever. I'm gonna finish with this one. It's called what you say when you can't say nothing. How you feel when your brother goes through the door of no return? When your uncle go, who gave you manhood training with the Dutchman, mythology of a black mass, who climbed up the hill in the Sisyphus syndrome, up and down, who wrote the story of the tribe of Shabazz, who lived the terror in the Newark Rebellion, wife and children in the closet, National Guard in the house, wife terrified, you bastards, beat my husband bloody, I should not be moved. Sonia said, resist, 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 and we shall. Take my husband from me, we shall not be moved. Kill my lesbian daughter and lover, I shall not be moved. Shawnee told her mama, Marvin X, the only man I like. Shawnee told me I'd never seen a man cook before. I told A.B. and Amina I want to marry Shawnee. And Mary said, Marvin, you get drunk and say the damnedest things. Amina said, take her, take her. We should not be moved. I.E. shot in the head with a .357 Magnum. He lived to tell about it. Tell me about the power of prayer. We should not be moved. We partied hard on 808 South 10th Street. Marvin, go to the store. Get me some Jack Daniels and Newports. Sonia, I don't need to hold hands. Forget that shit. Marvin, go to the store and get me some Jack Daniels and Newports. Yeah, get Damon something too. Get your friend something. He's up in his room writing. Go up there, get him some Miller Lite. Yeah, Damon's up there while the house is burning. That's him. You know him as well as I do. What was that girl he was messing with at the Black House in 1967? What was her name? Marvin, you was there. What was her name? That damn Damon. Go to the store, Marvin. Get my boyfriend, Jack. I need Jack right now. I shall not be moved. My brother gone. Uncle gone. Daddy gone. Buddy gone. Best friend gone. Departed the Miller Lite world of make-believe. Illusion of the worst kind. Dreams and dreamers. Martin Luther King knocked on his door. What do you do when Martin Luther King knocks on your door? Let him in or what? Can you imagine what drama, what tragic comedy? What love? What lessons of love, sweetness of love, bitterness of love? No matter what. I'm a mafia woman, Marvin. We don't leave our men. My daddy was in the mafia, Marvin. My grandfather, we don't leave our men. No matter what. I'm a Howard Street woman. We know Nathan Hurd. Ain't no shame in my game. I was always black. I didn't need black arts. When that nigga came home from Newark, I was black. Doing a black thing with my brother. When I met him, Mary, I was black. You better ask somebody. I didn't need no black arts to make me black. Howard Street made me black. His mama didn't like me because I was black. My kids was black. Yeah, my little pickaninny kids. Black. Help me, Marvin. Hold my hand. Come make me laugh like we used to. Laugh all night, Marvin. You made us laugh all night, Marvin. No matter the pain, you made us laugh all night. Jack Daniels laugh. Miller Lite laugh. Hennessy Bailey's laugh. Let the elephant out laugh. Make us laugh, Marvin. The Africans say, he who laughs the longest. Come on, Marvin. Hold my hand. Squeeze my hand. I want to laugh to keep from crying.
I'm glad that Marvin acknowledged some people in the House, and I would be remiss if I didn't do the same. Louise Merriweather, Jessica Care Moore, Mina Alexander. The next reader is Ted Wilson.
Good evening. In the middle. In the middle, 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 in the midst of all this, we exist because of them. You exist because of these folks here. I have Jimmy Garrett sent me a letter and asked would I read it in total. I don't know whether I have enough time, but I do want to read parts of it because I feel it's important. I knew Jane solely as a poet. I didn't know about her work on the West Coast during the movement. I met her when she came to New York. Jimmy Garrett says, Jane Cortez was the sister who recruited me to SNCC in LA, 1963. Jane had been tasked with finding black activists who were from the South and or were interested in working in the Southern Civil Rights Movement. I qualified at both. At the time, I was co-chair of the LA chapter of the Student Congress of Racial Equality. I worked with SNCC in Jackson and Laurel, Mississippi, as a staff member during the Mississippi Project in 1964. And after, I later found out Jane was a great, highly respected poet. Never once did she mention to a 19-year-old budding writer she was such a serious recruiter, and so never talked about her art form. I worked with SNCC until October 65, when, largely because I was visibly active in the LA uprising, I had to resign. During the summer 1966, shortly after accepting the chair of the Black Student Union at San Francisco State, after taking part in the Meredith March. And he goes on to talk about how Amiri Baraka and Larry Neal came out in 1967, and along with Sonia Sanchez, who he met in Mexico, they started the first Black Studies program, and they have a history of having the longest boycott, takeover, I think still. Sonia stayed the course and stayed for several years as a professor in the first Department of Black Studies in the US. I can't read everything in between, but he says, Ted, that's my story. Check with Danny, Sonia, John Bracy, Amina, Max Stanford, Askia Touré. I don't know if, I don't know how he was very active, but also Marvin X. Culture. Africa's blood runs through Cuba's veins. When you think about Negroes who imitate whites, who imitate us, that is Africans throughout the diaspora, you must ask yourself, who's doing who? In whose culture do we live? Turn the beat around. Turn the beat around. Memories were meant to fade. Turn the beat around. Nothing, obviously, belongs to anybody. It belongs to who has it and can hold it long enough to promote. The one who dies with the most toys wins. What you do for yourself, you take with you. What you do for others, you leave behind. Because luck often visits a fool, but seldom sits and chats with them. Ask and you shall answer. This is a poem that I first read in a reading over in Newark with Amina, Amiri, and a whole bunch of us at the Women in Support of the Women's March. Y'all know what I mean. But anyway, that was Sister Frederica Bay, who has been doing some fine work with the rest of those sisters. Let the music play. Let the music play. Let the music play, I say. Let the music play. Let the music play. Let the music play, I say. Let the music play. Let the music play. Let the music play, I say. You want to hear some words? Let the music play, I say. You want to hear some words? Like a poem, like a poem, like a rhyme out of time, a space out of place. Let the music play. Speak the words of colored tunes, though brightly arranged, so they pierce the drums of our ears. Now let the music play. The sounds of mulatto all-stars strumming their whatevers, let them strut their strut up and down the boulevard of hipness against a backdrop of Al Jolson images in Greenwich Village, right off Cooper Square. We know who lived there. If you think Magic Johnson, Jackie Robinson, and Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, and bebop will save your ass this time, let the music play. Do you want coherency? Do say. Do you want a rational approach to integrated systems? Ouch! Wrong century. Do you want an evolutionary development unfolding like a seasonal change? You say. Words. Words precede the act. The thought precedes the word. The feeling precedes all thought. Or is it vice versa? Is it the rationality we seek, coherently speaking? I say, let the music play. Let the music play. Let the music play. Let the music play. Words, words, more words. You know, words have power. Or didn't you? You will sooner and later than you think, and it will stay longer, which is later, which is longer, which is later. Can you get to that? Better to let the music play. Let the music play. Sounds of inoculation, anesthetizing, hypnotizing you into inebriate states of blissful desire. Decadent as it seems. Imagine silence. They're gone. Thank you.
We have the addition of the son of Amiri Baraka, one of the sons of Amiri Baraka and Amina Baraka, Ras Baraka. So we'll bring Ras forward now.
Just want to thank the organizers of this event. I just want to tell you guys something, ladies. It's a surprise, but my father is not dead. We learned that a long time ago in science. Matter can't be created nor destroyed, right? It just changes form. So we, and Jane Cortez, both of them together is a serious program, right? Lord have mercy. There's some people right now who feeling it somewhere. So my mother asked me to read a poem that she wrote for Jane Cortez at a celebration of hers. and then I'm going to read a poem that I just wrote a few hours ago for both of them. I like the sound of her name, the echo of her voice, the shadow of her smile. When I think of Jane Cortez, I think of art, poetry, music, song, and revolution. I think of Africa, home. I think of for the brave young students of Soweto. I think of Cuba, Fidel Castro and the soldiers. I think of Nicaragua, Sandino and the Sandinistas' People's Revolution. I think of Palestine and the struggle for self-determination. I think of Native Americans' fight against genocide. When I think of Jane Cortez, I think of the United States of America. I think of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I think of Civil Rights Movement and the Black Liberation Movement. I think of big, fine women from Ruleville. I think of Malcolm X, Dr. King, and there it is. When I think of Jane Cortez, I think of rape. What was Inez supposed to do? Joanne did the dance of the ice picks. I think of blues, for the people who speak the language. I think of Yari Yari, first world women poets and writers. When I think of Jane Cortez, I think of fire spitters, spitting fire on oppression worldwide. I think of internationalism and humanity. When I think of Jane Cortez, I think of the beautiful book. When I think of Jane Cortez, I think of the life she lived, the liberty she fought for, the pursuit of a poet. When I hear the echo of her voice, I can't say goodbye, Jane. See you later in the spirit world. Thank you. How did I get here? On my back in the dark, wind and water between my ears. How did I get here? On my back in the dark, wind and water between my ears. We be for Jane Cortez and Amiri Baraka. We are the be in what is, the sweat in the palm, the heat of the flame, the chill in your bones, the right noun of what was, the breath of life. We can't be seen unless you're the unseen. We can't be bottled or packaged or bought. We can't be duplicated or exchanged or figured out. Hell, we can't be understood. We can't be marketed or taught in a class, remixed or revised. We are the be in what is, the right now always, the be in what is, the right now always, the end of the beginning and the beginning of the end. On the tip of your tongue, in the back of your mind, in the dark of the room, we be present and all around. Our youth express it like, can you feel me? We are the fire spitters, turn death into life. We be beauty, not beautiful or full of beauty. We beauty itself, yeah, beauty itself. Opposed to death and ignorance, opposed to poverty and disease, of hunger and racism and imperialism. We are the opposite of slavery. Our life is a testimony. It's a prayer for humanity, a dance for the living, the kiss of new lovers, the scent of morning rain, the ocean's edge, the constant in time, the sharp of the razor. Yeah, we are the be of what is, the motion of history. Our fires, yeah, they burn black. Our hands chisel democracy from tyranny. Our songs unite the world. Our words give birth to freedom. We are the be of what is, the right now always, and there is nothing you can do or say or write or legislate or pontificate that could ever describe who we really, really are, and our importance to the noun, to the world, to the humanity, to life, can't ever really be translated. The best thing you can do is just sit back, bop your head, and dig it.
Those of you who are from Newark, this is your next mayor. The next poet is Arturo, and he will be accompanied by a musician.
Good evening, y'all. I'm from the South. I'm from New Orleans. She's from New Orleans, recent graduate of the new school up here. He's a New Orleans trumpeter, or as we say, trumpeter. He's a Linton Smith Jr., son of a very, very good friend of mine. Very good friend. We worked for years at the Urban League of Greater New Orleans together, his father and I. But the first thing I'd like to do is to thank the people of New York for the selfless assistance that you gave us in our hour of need. Now, you saw who was out there, so I'm not going to even go into the explanation any further, but thank you very, very much. In college, in 1968, I met Mr. Baraka. We, back at that time, Tuskegee had the funds to do that, right? But I played Walker Vessels in his play called The Slave, which I've always maintained was a much better one than the one that won the Obie Award, the Dutchman, you know. Because the Dutchman, I think the white folks won in the end, you know, but let me not be ugly. But truthful. But I played Walker Vessels in The Slave, and it changed my life. That same year, Mr. Baraka, as I said earlier, then Don Lee, Haki Matabuchi, Nikki Giovanni, Larry Neal, Hoyt Fuller, Margaret Danner, Mari Evans, they all visited our campus, and that changed a lot of people's lives. So this particular piece for Jane Cortez and Amiri Baraka, it's from one of our traditions at home called the second line. You know what the second line is? Okay, so you know about the dancing with the handkerchief and all that. Okay. But this is an occasional piece. The first part of the second line usually takes place in the church, but it's very solemn, very respectful, very somber, and the theme of the whole gathering in the church is it's hauntingly melodious, let's say. The mood is hauntingly melodious. But the second line, it's a street parade, as you know, of musicians, et cetera, et cetera. Then after the burial, that's when the party starts, and the person is sent away with a spirit of joy. And it is this joyful post-burial celebration that has long struck a chord with both visitors to our city and, of course, our indigenous people, you know, us, right? But this piece is called Second Line. And that first part is called Dirge. He's going to play a nice funeral dirge for you. And the second part is called Dance, okay? But the second line, to Jane Cortez and Amiri Baraka, Dirge. Death's door opens. We are bereaved indeed. When perchance a soul whom we encountered leaves, just as certain as we all must face our destiny and return to dust. And in the midst of such despair, when mournful departure permeates the air, we ask ourselves of the whys and whens, of the stillness and silence of their pens. Though chance or choice might play a part in our lives and loves and art, we are here but for a second's pace, in lieu of time and unbounded space. Their words have healed and steered the way in our screams and dreams throughout the day, to guide us forward into the night and enfold us with unearthly light. In risque verse or genteel rhyme, where life is such a crucial climb, we rise to heights from these poets' hearts, from the faraway gates of their shrouded parts. We wail and mourn and shed our tears and revamp our hopes for future years. Their vision endures to soothe our sadness from a celestial fount of eternal gladness. We howl and yowl and question why such blessed essence should bid goodbye. But prideful death just cannot smile, because the poets trod that further mile. For the future holds we know not what, when death's door closes so abruptly shut. Part two. is dance. To the poets, to the weavers of the words and makers of rhyme, to the jazz poets and the jizz poets, battening down the hatches and watering the cannon. For the poets, for the scribes, the vernal fire spitters and ancient ages, blessed be their hearts and jingly parts, to the tone and tenor of their universe, from the people, to the people, for the people, for the poets of the people. Where they at, where they at? Poets just in from the rain, poets from the storm, poets from the Ninth Ward doing a heck of a job, poets from Poughkeepsie, poets from Manhattan, poets who be hating. No, he didn't. Poets who be abominations to all creations. Poets who mouth spout, yes we can. Change we can believe in, chump change. Poets that be sitting around saying stuff like word up. Poets who be saying Havarigani, Ooga Booga, where you at? Poets with exotic sounding African names who still act like Negroes. Poets who believe everything they're taught. Poets who play it like they're so intellectually astute and they're just as ignorant as me. Poets that talk about, this is the Donald Rumsfeld part. Poets that talk about the knowns and unknowns and the things that they knew, which were the known unknowns, which is to say that there were things that they knew they didn't know. But there were also unknown unknowns that they didn't know they didn't know. Duh. I like to copy Mr. Baraka style, too. You know, he like that, all that shaking and dancing on the stage. Anyway, poets who sing the praises of the beautiful black women in nation time. Cliche. Poets on open mic night. My Nubian king, my Nubian queen. Cliche. Poets who be red, black, and blue in green, all by themselves in the heat of the night. Cliche. The poets of our blood, with some exceptions. Poets where dead lecturers live, who rise, and raise. To the political poets and the greeting card poets, tender is the night. Academic poets, polemic poets, to those polished and proper pundits and punsters, the unholy grail of their shallow solutions and rudimentary renditions, to the poets at the readings who always going overtime and bullgorting the mic. Oops, my bad. To the poets around us, within us, and us in them, the people's poets. Poets in the tradition. I got bananas, watermelon, sweet patootie. I got bananas, watermelon, red to the rind. So good it keep the baby from crying. Poets like Aunt Sweet and Mama Rachel. The Lord don't like ugly. Everybody happy on wedding day. Take one to know one. Take care be better than beg pardon. Don't rock the boat, especially when you're sitting in it. Some folks don't know what's good till it's gone. If there wasn't no losing, there couldn't be no winning. A hard head makes a soft behind. Keep on doing what you're doing, keep getting what you're getting. It ain't what people call you, it's what you answer to. The dog that bring tail, take tail. Some days you the pigeon, some days you the statue. Show me who you hang with and I'll show you, and I'll show you who you is. Don't let your right hand know what your left hand doing. Don't throw away the baby with the bath water. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. Ignorance is its own reward. Don't shoot all the dogs because one of them got fleas. Never give a white man all your money. If my aunt told me that one day, I said, what did I give a white man my money for? A little boy. Don't pray too hard for what you want, you just might get it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. White meat don't eat white meat. When you lays down with dogs, you get fleas. Never compare your insides to somebody else's outsides. Father don't always know best, lest he father time. If you want to see a rainbow, you got to put up with a little rain. Just because your shoes is polished don't mean you ain't got no holes in the sole. Now, get out my face, boy. I got washing to do. Them kind of poets, pirates, prophets and partners, liberation's libation to future generations. From the edge of death's highway, the road we all must travel. Blessed be those who hearken to the tragedies and triumphs of their brief breath of life as we bury our dead, wipe away our tears, and continue the memory of their sacrifice in our struggle. Thank you. Linton Smith on trumpet.
That was really lovely. I like that. The next writer is Hakeem Madabuti. I say writer because most of the people we've said, we've announced them as poets, even though a lot of them do other things. But Haki wrote a very tender biography of his mother. And I really, really wanted to thank you publicly for it because I used it in my creative writing classes. And it really was a beautiful piece. Haki Madabuti.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here this evening. Bring you greetings from Chicago. Bring you greetings from the Midwest, from Detroit and from St. Louis and Cincinnati and Indianapolis. I bring you greetings from the Midwest. You know, Jane was, let's talk a little bit about Jane, then go to Baraka. Was more than special. The last time Jane and Mel and I were together, we were on a plane to Senegal for some conference. But I've seen Jane in between in many venues. And of course, when she was doing her major conferences here, I was honored to be a part of that. The vocabulary of an artist is one of profound caring. Jane Cortez, drums, everywhere drums. Profound caring, if not love, unconditional. The best poets are also musicians, using words like underfed notes, dancing off pages at 1 a.m. in the morning. They have a magical language, singing in their heads, in their hands, reconstructing a memory, a liberating narrative of those they love. For the poets to emerge unbent and inspired out of the Black Arts movement of the 60s, Jane Cortez remained one of the most accomplished, enduring, visionary, productive, poetically active, committed, what would we say, serious as a first love. And this is important. I mean, this first love for the language, this first love for your people. I'm just going to pause for a minute to tell you about a few of the people who have this first love, and that's why they're here. I want Jessica Care Moore to stand up. Let's stand up. I want Tyamba Jess to stand up. Tyamba not here? He left. Herb Boyd, stand up. Woody King Jr., stand up. Dr. Melvin Edwards, stand up. Dr. Randall Horton, is he still here? Is Randall still there? Aberdeen, stand up. Stand up, stand up. And my daughter, Marianne, stand up. Obviously, my daughter is of the young set, but these younger poets, they are our today and our tomorrow. We've got to encourage them. This crew over here, they laid the foundation. They gave us the way. And we can't forget them. We can't forget them. Thank you very much. Jane Cortez, without compromise, has advocated a word music aesthetic. It is Black African in origin and has become a definitive authority. Her mission, this calling of hers, has had its pain, criticism, and definitely hungry days. She unapologetically writes out of a historical African-centered tradition that she has helped to create, define, and promote. She was keenly aware that any artist that is not a carrier and promoter of the elite Western cultural canon, by definition, places his or her artistry outside of the mainstream for publications, foundation grants, considerations, art prizes, academic residencies, large public readings, and corporate support, automatically. In the West, almost without exception, it has been a kiss of death to embrace and practice any art that is not sanctioned by the powers that be. You know, Jane Cortez, in her brilliant 4-decade-plus career, against great odds, has achieved world-class status as a poet and interpreter of African and world literature. She has weathered naive academic assessments, as well as the conspiracies of neglect, publishing whiteouts, and the deadly silences that negate and diminish our best poets, especially those who refuse to publicly or privately buck dance to the prevailing wind of a knee-low and lick-up culture. She is in the same league as Gwendolyn Brooks, Amiri Baraka, Mari Evans, Sonia Sanchez, Asquita Touré, Eugene Redmond. And Eugene Redmond was one of her major pushers. I mean, every time he published drum voices, it seemed like Jane was in every issue. And others who believed in the functionalities of art. That is, its essence, devoted to the intellectual and cultural liberation of a people. That's what art should be about. Any people who are in control of their own cultural imperatives is about the healthy replication of themselves. That's what Jane was about. Any people who have been nurtured and educated in this science of self-hatred need a Jane Cortez. Her poetry is transformative and holistic in its construction, in her delivery, her accessibility, and translations. Her interpretations of our political, economic, and cultural existence is revelatory and is a call for a higher participation, what one would define as progressive affiliations. Ultimately, where shall we place this reflective word dancer with nerves of fire, who refuse early and often to walk the mean streets of New York, Senegal, and Nigeria, dumb-eyed, divorced from self and civilization? She would not allow that to happen. Let us state that she is our drum. Her heart beats like, imageries of Art Blakely and Max Roach. She is our blues, greyhounding between New Orleans and Chicago. Our Harlem dancer, a pre-rapper, rapper, aware of deals in the night and grand possibilities. She is our yes. In a corporate culture bent on keeping us childlike mindless consumers, refusing to acknowledge the beauty and future of black on black. In any kind of fight, I wish to be at her side. Failure in art or life for her is not an option. You know, she writes, find your own voice and use it. Use your own voice and find it. And from Jazz Fan Looks Back, she writes, I crisscross with Monk, well with Bud, counted every star with some stits, saying, don't shame me with Sarah, wore a flower like Billy, scream in the range of Dinah, and scattered How High the Moon with Ella Fitzgerald, as she blew roof off the Shrine Auditorium, jazz at the Philharmonic. You know, I like her company. And like I said, serious as a first love, count me in. Again, we bring you greetings from the Midwest for our dear brother, Amiri. I've been knowing him since '68. In all kind of configuration. I remember when he was a baby, little boy. He changed all of us. And I bring you greetings from Third World Press and his family at the Institute of Positive Education. We published 5 of his books. The last 2 being Wise, 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 where he got his ghost poems. And the last book of essays, Razor. What a title. You know, we just lost our John Coltrane. For poets and writers, Amiri Baraka created an avalanche of melodies, volcanoes, hurricanes, screams, and earthquakes. We just lost our man Bearden. Baraka mixed metaphors, unrhymed couplets, complex similes, nuanced messaging, and colorful mixed media creations that distinguished this griot into a class of his own. We just lost our Catherine Dunham. Few will forget the way he danced to the music of his own poetry. Plays, essays, and fiction, lifting the popular and populace out of their seats to confirm an idea, to confirm a phrase, to confirm a fine-tuned da-da-do. We just lost our Melvin B. Tosin, Sterling A. Brown, Langston Hughes, Margaret Walker, Gwendolyn Brooks. Because like them, they saved a seat at the table. I'd like to hear that conversation. I love the brother. I did 3 poems for him. I'm just going to read one tonight. I want to end up with another poem on art, what art really means. But the 3 poems are in Liberation Narratives. Amiri, Baraka always come in a place late. Rushing to catch words that came before him, that don't matter much. Him got his own words, music, dance, and dramatics, and bright ideas, even if some of them don't work in like used cars. But Baraka works harder than 15 men his age, that I do, who've been around long enough to tell his time in places where people have tried to beat the beat and tempo out of his talk and walk. Monk, Train, and Duke played secrets that saved him and us, even if we didn't accurately hear their da-da-doos. Baraka did. They spoke musically to him. He gave us his many languages and genius. His coming in time is getting better and less late. Even for this age, still making up stories, acting on his own stage and firing truth poems that compel liars and politicians to exit early and often. I'm in with a poem really dedicated to Jane and Amiri, and to all the poets here. It's called Art. And I'm going to ask you to help me out as we go into it. You know, art is a prodigious and primary energy force. Children's active participation in music, dance, painting, poetry, film, photography, and the indigenous crafts of their people is what makes them whole, significantly human, secure in their own skins, culture, and abilities, just generating in them unlimited possibilities. Art is fundamental instruction and food for a people's soul as they translate the many languages and acts of becoming. Often tell them in no uncertain terms that all humans are not pure or perfect. However, the children of all cultures inherit their creator's capacity to originate from the bone of their imaginations, the closest manifestations of purity, perfection, and beauty, art. Art at its best encourages us to walk on water, dance on top of trees, and skip from star to star without being able to swim, keep a beat, or fly. A child's on-fire imagination is the one universal prerequisite for becoming an artist. Help me out. Magnify your children's minds with art. Jumpstart their questions with art. Come on, I can't hear you. Introduce your children to the cultures of the world through art. Energize their young feet, spirits, and souls with art. Infuse the values of importance to civic culture via art. Keep them curious, political, and creative with, come on, art. Speak and define the universal language of beauty with art. Learn to appreciate peace with art. Approach the cultures of other people through their art. Introduce the spiritual path of other people through their art. Keep young people in school off drugs and out of prison with art. Keep their young minds running, jumping, and excited with art. Examine the nurturing moments of love, peace, and connecting differences with art. Art allows and encourages the love of self and others. The best artists are not mass murderers, criminals, or child molesters. They're in the beauty and creation business. Art is elemental to intelligent work in democracy, freedom, equality, and justice. Art, if used wisely and widely, early and often, is an answer and a question. It is the cultural lake that the indigenous rivers of dance, music, local images, and voices flow. Art is the waterfall of life, reflecting the untimely and unique soul of a people. Art is the drumbeat of good and great hearts forever seeking peace and a grand future for all enlightened peoples. But these are the people the world over who would love to proclaim, give the artist some kind words, financial support, yeses from the heart, knowing intuitively that there will be creative reciprocity in all that they give us. Why? Because fundamentally, art inspires, informs, directs, generates hope, and challenges the receiver to respond. And finally, and this is consequential, the quality of the art determines the quality of the responses. Thank you very much.
The next person is Quincy Troop.
I knew both Jane Cortez and Amiri Baraka for about 45 years. And I met them both in California, where I used to live, when I was living in Watts. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that, but I met both of them out there. And we had so much fun throughout those years, and fun and serious talk about literature and revolution and about becoming community organizers. I consider myself a community organizer. You know, that's what I consider myself. I'm a poet and a writer, but I consider myself a community organizer. That's why I edit magazines all the time and get readings for people and organize festivals and all of that, because I think you have to do more than just be a poet. You have to do more than just be a writer. You have to do a lot of things. And so because of the fact I came up in Watts, in that movement out there, that's been a part of my life since that time. I want to say a couple of more things. I sold my car to Jane Cortez. I sold my car to Jane Cortez because I went up to Woodstock and spent the weekend up there with my wife here, Margaret Porter Troop, great lady. And I told Mel that, you know, my leg was getting all weird and been out of shape driving this car up there, and had been driving it around and I was, you know, so he said, oh, and I didn't think nothing of it. I said, I'm gonna sell it, you know, and put it in the paper and sell it. So when I got ready to leave about 3 days later, they were standing on the porch and he said, oh, you know, Jane want that car. I didn't even know Jane drove, you know, all those years. I didn't know she drove because I used to always ride with Mel. And so Jane bought the car. And so that was very interesting, you know, that she bought the car. I was going to go up there and ride with her sometime just to see if she could drive, you know. So unfortunately, when Jane passed, you know, I did this poem, and we had this celebration at Monte de Aguara, and we did down at the Great Hall, and I wrote this poem called Avalanche 6 for Jane, and I was going to read that tonight. But then Amiri called me and said, I want you to read on this celebration for Jane Cortez, and I want you to read that poem that you read down at Cooper Union, the Grand Hall. I said, okay, I'll do that, cool. And then, you know, he went to the other side. So now I'm going to read this poem trying to cut down the middle, you know. It's called, because both of them were people who were into the language, both of them, and I am too, and both of them were into that. And I have a poem that is called Words That Build Bridges Towards a New Tongue. And I'm going to read about 2.5 pages of that poem and sit down. They both like this poem too. Words that build bridges towards a new tongue. You begin with a sound wrapped around a syllable or syllables, a word or words like razzmatazz or ratamacue. Then you listen to a red-boned black man playing a horn like a clue, like a train or John Coltrane or Bird or Miles. Then you play around with sounds your ears had heard, lift them off a rebound, spellbound, inside a room. Because of a cue, your memory remembered and knew. Now you add a few nouns, and vowels, words singing like birds, flying through spring winds, thunderclapping with rolling consonants. Their feathers echo in colors now, black or white or blue. As a ranky-dank pressing flesh beneath them was immune to trailing blues stretched out behind them. Voices that flew rhythmic as cute soundtracks through the night's sweet longing, chewing like wailing engines, hurling down isolated tracks, way out in the dead of nights. Hush music around the voodoo, bewitching our bats, who like words bruising from a crew of Mad Hatter good old boys were circling inside a hush cave, where a strange blend of language was fashioning itself now from cries and screams. The whooshing of beating wings, drumming pell-mell clues through the dark cinematography of a dream bordering on nightmare as it wraps itself around you now as if it were a cocoon. Now you find yourself inside the cave of your head, Baraka, Cortez, and you are whatever it is you think you are there, brand new. You are what you believe in as truth, right then, right there, when you hear sheets of sound rushing out of the bell of a saxophone. It is a sound-down cornucopia of magic spiraling out of a dream from a golden axe shaped like an elephant's trunk. The shape of need here is a question mark bewitching us with breath, power, mystery, stealth. Is what new language is shaping itself into now inside the neon air, hip-hopping and rapping and voice rhymes of young people. Before us right now is what the mind's ear reminds the tongue of here, chasing the sound of a freight train moving at full speed. It is, there's a syntax. It is a jackety-jack of wheels rolling through the slick flow of tracks bedazzling gears. The song of it all beguiling us with amazement. The rackety-rack of steel spinning down and over rails, underground or overground tracks. The sound we hear is real when we know it. Baraka, Cortez, coming from the terrifying mystery of a hip shaman's horn. And we see the music form in the shape of the hot tongue of a big flame lighter, tonguing out gushed heat. Flames as sounds as words inside the scorched floor of lava, inside a tongue that is red, white, and blue laced with dews played in Philadelphia, in Hamlet, North Carolina, where language was fractured there, congealed, until it hot-scotched itself to its own backbeat. Conundrum before it peeled across the air, clear as a bell, ringing cold on Sundays, unleashed the rage and rhythm and tempo. Heated voices and sermons became a firefly there in flight, was volcanic with syllables aglow. The night flaming with embers, washing through the breeze like a tribe of fireflies, swarming through the night sky, a voice pure and guttural, a primal scream, looping clues of prophecy here. Blue, or sweetly singing as a slew of birds tracking across a fondued sky, laced with magenta. Their music heard in ringing bells as the wind tongue trills melodic, as it breezes lilting language through chiming language, trembling like lovers in heat time, when the air is all aglow and splendiferous with greens, yellows, and golds, bright reds of bougainvilleas, jacaranda fragrant as voices of doves cooing, sweet pink of flaring rhododendrons that burst in the shapes of trumpet bells, evoking Miles Dewey Davis, playing muted live in memory. Clean as a whistle is where a poet stretches rubber sentences in the bridges of music now. Baraka, Cortez. Y'all are a language imprinting itself daily out of a lost and found word, constructing what it is to speak as a true American here, today, right now. Words moving through poems as magicians through parades, clowns dressed up as verbs, adverbs, adjectives surrounding nouns with bright verb, reminding the senses of sweet odor of frangipani perfume. Rhymes and rhythms intoxicating the senses, Cortez, Baraka. Rhymes and rhythms, your rhymes and rhythms intoxicating our senses, Cortez, Baraka. Rhymes and rhythms intoxicating the music. Rhymes and rhythms intoxicating the music.
The next reader is Felipe Luciano.
Vaya familia. There is an Indian Swami named Muktunanda, wrote a book called The Blue Pearl. And he says that he believes in a force called Shaktipat. And the reason I resonated, the reason I felt like warm water going through me is because in the Pentecostal religion, which I was raised in, And I know some of you have been raised holiness, but you haven't been raised Puerto Rican holiness. Their stuff is out to lunch. It's off the hook. So he said, you can feel Shaktipat through someone looking at you, through someone talking to you, or through someone touching you, which is how we interpreted the Holy Spirit. And he said, if Shaktipat does not change you, let it go. If the feeling, if the lifestyle, if the belief system does not transform you, let it go. Drop it like it's hot. And we have the habit of immersing ourselves in belief systems that do not transform us. And that's why we cling to Amiri. We need Cortez. We need this family of poets because it is transformative. It allows us the ability to look at God and guns and griots in a real way. It says there is no reason for you to think that art should stay there. It is not esoteric. If it doesn't smack the shit out of you, and if it doesn't make you smack the shit out of somebody, then it is meaningless. You can be cute, you can be erudite, but it doesn't change that young brother's life who was taken off on 116th Street and Lenox Avenue. By the same token, it has to be transformative enough to make you want to live. And may we say it, there are some of us who fall so close to the abyss that we get caught up. And so we must remember that if we don't commit ourselves to building a consortium of poets, a consortium of artists, a consortium that calls itself family, so that we can endow these people with chairs at Harvard, chairs at CCNY, chairs at Brooklyn, there is no reason why the plays shouldn't become. We don't have a black theater. We don't have chairs in universities that say, you know something, Askia, we're going to put you there and make 100,000. What the fuck? You think it's a lot of money? Ain't nothing. Talk to these dealers on the street. 100,000 ain't nothing. How much drugs have we sold from 96th Street to 137th? And we still talking about being gentrified. We're gentrified because we wanted to be gentrified. Because we didn't invest our money. Colombians did. Everybody else did. So all I'm saying is that the art must move. It must have feet. It must have fists. It must go through wood. It has to do something. Or else what's the use? And so, in recognition of Baraka and Cortez, who, by the way, were about politics, people would avoid them because you could not walk in their presence without feeling spirit and revolution. You couldn't. If you didn't want to deal with that, you could. People love their stuff, and some people say, you know, I liked him when he was in the Greenwich Village. He was so wonderful. My God, how did he get like that? Do you understand that Newark was changed because of Amiri? Had it not been for him, I wouldn't have cared about that backwater town. It was Amiri who did that. It was Jane who taught us that you cannot just sit in isolation. She didn't talk about, well, I'm going to have a gala, and I'm going to be a black nationalist, and eventually so many of the cultural nationalists, so many of them became black Republicans. She said, I'm going, it's the truth, I'm going to Senegal, and did it. She and Mel would come up to the East Wind. I'll write about it in a little while. And it would blow my mind. The way her intensity was a cool, almost nitrogen-like ice. You know what I mean? It was like, boom. And she didn't have to scream. She used to tell me, calm down. Calm down. transformative. Had it not been for the Miri, the Young Lords would have never been formed. I became a revolutionary, though I'm pretty sure that there was primordial already. I did have some anger issues. Had it not been for Amiri, that would never have been structured. Do you know what I'm saying? He didn't believe in you standing there and doing nothing. And so for Quincy Troop, who gave me my first apartment, he did, and told me, Quincy, if you don't calm your ass down and find somebody to settle with, you're going to die. For Abuti, who we used to call him Don L. Lee, who came up to the East Wind and used to tell me, we have to build institutions, and did it. To Sonia Sanchez, who never apologized for her last name. You dig? Got you used to the word Sanchez and dared you to get into some, are you black or Puerto Rican? What are you? To Askia Muhammad Touré, who for a long time, bathed me in the ritual of wordology. I mean, he used to come into the loft in the East Wind, and he would just spit. And he was so intense, he would almost faint. The intensity of I began to understand. This Puerto Rican began to understand where it was coming from. To Teddy Wilson, my big brother, who always stays in contact with me. You'd be surprised at what calls can do. Call people, y'all. If you see me kissing Raz and kissing all these people here, it's because you don't know when the hell they're going to pop off. That's why I love Puerto Rican culture. We kiss everybody. We hug and kiss everybody. People say it's an African thing, damn it. It ain't got nothing to do. It's an African kiss and hug. You don't know if tomorrow's going to come. To Marvin X, who's always been a bad motherfucker. Always. Did you hear Marvin's poem? Shakes you. Because Marvin is about reality. Let's talk real. Marvin, get me the Jack Daniels and the Newports. Is that not Amina? And this is all dedicated to Amina because Amina, when I used to get on people, Amina would say to me, Felipe, shut the hell up. Your contradictions are legion. Don't be talking all that nonsense. You know what you about, and I would shut up. To Sandra Maria Esteves, who is the mother of Puerto Rican poetry in our culture. The queen. Who has mentored more people than you can shake a stick at. And by the way, to the memory of Tato Laviera, Miguel Piñero, Bimbo Rivas, Piri Thomas, Luis Reyes Rivera, coño, I forgot, man. Rashida, who put this whole thing together. Stand up, Rashida. Stand up, baby. Hi, Margie. I haven't seen you. Look at Margaret. I haven't seen her in a long time. Girl, you look better than ever. To Linton Kwesi Johnson, who I'm dying to do a magazine with called Afro-Antillian, do the Puerto Rican Jamaica number. These are the folks. Anyway, look. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to sit down. I hope you like it. I wrote it a few hours ago, too. I needed to. I got up about 2 in the morning. And I remembered this, and please remember this, folks. Do not pass people that you love without forgiveness and forgetfulness. Do you know that anger produces cancer? Stop the anger. Stop it. This room can change the nature of New York. This room. We can change the Lincoln Projects. We can change the Johnson Projects. We can change Brownsville. We can change Bed-Stuy. We can change East Harlem and the Lower East Side. We can change whatever we want. This room has the incandescent energy of intellect, militance, and spirituality. So no kid is going to come up to me and pull a 9 and say, "What's up?" It's not going to happen. In fact, I kind of like that kind of stuff. I got to be careful. Gets me excited. There's no reason why we should allow these children, they should all be here. All these rappers, all these kids should be sitting down on the, listening to this. That's the thing. Okay, for Jane. Mel, I remember you dearly. And Woody, I love you, Papa. There he goes. There are spirits who pass through the spaces of your life like cool water, like sweet wine. They don't condemn, they don't challenge, they just whisper encouragement and fatten your vision with the holiness of their being. And when they're called back, after they've permeated your being with the ethic of honesty and what can be, after children raised and honors gained and a certain confidence of self-acceptance, when you turn to offer the thanks of gratitude for emerging whole, through the twists and the turns, they're gone. Just like that. It is in that instant that one feels the loss of the presence. I remember a dusty Harlem loft called the East Wind, full of noise and commotion, politics and poetry. We called ourselves the last poets and loved and argued. But when Jane walked in, shit stopped. She'd slowly pour a libation of smiles and soft words, then pick up her verbal rifle and show us how to shoot. Art spitting out like a Winchester repeating rifle, again and again, with a knockdown power that shook us. She never missed the target. And then gently she'd put the rifle down, sit down like an Apache princess, and ask us how our lives were. Easing the embarrassment of male pride, the arrogance of ideology and hard edges. Damn, she was good. And I never thanked her for showering us with love, for showing us how to be strong men without scowls, how to be genteel and universal, African and inclusive. It was the music of her being that fascinated me. The ability to invoke Chano Pozo and Charlie Parker, Machito and Ellington. She heard a different sound, an orchestra without division, arrangements that only angels hear when they're here. And now she's gone. And that space is missing between us, in me. Oh, Jane, Jane Cortez, make one of us another you soon. I am not going to wax long on this. I will just tell you that Amiri Baraka was my dad. And I publicly want to thank Raz and Obalaji and Amiri and all of them for allowing me to to move him out the way sometimes. He had a lot of children. I adored him. I didn't like him. I didn't love him. I adored him. He was not afraid to change. And change he did. Not chameleon, folks. Substantive change. Amiri always went to the essence, to the depth of stuff. If he was a nationalist, he was a nationalist. If he was a Muslim, he was a Muslim. If he was a socialist, he was a socialist. And if he was a communist, he was a communist. And by the way, his first major was religion and philosophy. And when I decided to go to seminary, and I'm graduating from the Union Theological Seminary with a master's in theology, when I told him, embracing myself, he said, "That's cool, man. It's cool. I hope you won't be like them other jokers." This poem is called Mira Amiri. Look, Amiri, look what you caused, what you started with your blackology. I was blessed with Jesus in ignorance, Boy Scouts and Mighty Mouse. Good people went to a fluffy white heaven. Black people went to a rock hard bad hell. And damn it, didn't they deserve it? All they did was hang and drink and fuss and fight, laugh, pray, and love life and the blues. I saw no redeeming social value, no future. And then you came along, asking embarrassing questions about where I thought mambo really came from. How come I twitched when congas were played? And why my mother spoke in tongues? Was it really the Holy Ghost? Or some demon dance from another coast? Congo maybe? Gambia? Yoruba maybe? Zambia? You scared me, Juju man, made my insides loosen by goosing the cell memory of centuries long gone. Your gentle literary prodding made me catch a glimpse of the softness of black, the sonority of it, its vulnerability, its slash and burn genius. Jazz woke my ass up, some montuno on my feet. Poetry was the spell you spit on me as you slowly took off my stocking cap and freed my hair, my prayer, my lair, my stare. I jumped in the spirit of Africa and swam until I found out why I'm reeking with beauty, why I like knives. Now, the young ones come to me asking how I come to love rumba and basie, plena and Ellington, monk and guaguancó. And as I tear up and tell them of the American maroon Negro who turned this reeking black, who loved him into scholarship and common sense, who asked the diasporic question of what is the real fucking difference between me and you, fool? And why you falling for the bullshit? White don't make you right. Black don't stand for lack. Skin folk ain't always kinfolk, so stick to class and ancestors, music and prophetic words, action that confirms ideology. And don't be afraid of the dark. Be afraid of wooden Negroes and the red Kool-Aid. It may be your blood you're drinking. As I answer their prenatal questions and tell them of how you brought your black art church to Harlem and gave birth to the last poets, invigorated the Black Panthers, danced with and defended the young lords, the heaviness dissipates. Shoulders straighten. The easy breath returns. What an honor to have known you, to have kissed you like a father, to have watched your brilliance dominate American arts and letters over half a century. No threat, no bully, no state, no cop made you quit, and you died a natural death. Telling me deliriously in the hospital, 2 guys came to get you to try to take you off. Impossible, Amiri. Not with all the kids you brought to life. Anyway, we found them, Papa. It was Baldwin and Langston Hughes coming to bring you home. Ginsberg and Kerouac are waiting up in the house. Damn, what a slam that's going to be. Thank you.
The next poet is Linton Kwesi Johnson, who just flew in who just flew in, and we really, really appreciate his dedication and his love of both Jane and Amiri to come straight from the airport and to read.
Good evening. Good evening. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here on this special occasion. Naturally, I'm a little bit jaded because I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning. My flight was canceled because of snow or something, and I had to catch a second flight. But I'm happy to be here and to see so many familiar faces and names and poets who have admired and respected since I was a youth. Never mind the gray hair. I think it's all been said, really. I don't have a lot to add to what has been said already. Um, I just think that Amiri and Amiri and Jane were two remarkable poet activists who touched many hearts and minds, made their indelible marks, and left a very rich legacy. I'm very pleased to have known them and to have worked with them. We had some good times together with Amina and with Mel as well. And I'm going to miss them, but I will always treasure the good times and the good memories I have of them. I'm just going to do two poems because I was told keep it to 6 minutes. The first one is a poem I wrote in response to some rather negative comments that were made about so-called dub poetry. There's a reference in the poem to Buthelezi. Of course, you all know who Buthelezi is. You know that guy the Zulu guy who collaborated with the apartheid regime in South Africa. And Percival, Lance Percival, well, he was a very famous English comic actor who also made a name for himself doing parodies of popular or some popular and well-known calypsos. It's really a poem about poets and poetry and a kind of a defense, if you like, of orality in poetry. If I was a top-notch poet, if I was a top-notch poet, like Chris Okigbo, Derek Walcott, or T.S. Eliot, I would write a poem so damn deep that it bittersweet. Like a precious memory will make you weep, will make you feel incomplete. Like when your lover leave, and though the defeat you concede, still you beg and you plead till you win a reprieve and you're ready for rock steady, but the music done already. Still, in the meantime, with me rhythm, with me rhyme, with me rough bass line, with me one sense of time, goon poet of a step in line. Buthelezi might have got couple thousand, but Mandela for him thousands of thousands of thousands of thousands. If I was a top-notch poet, like Kamau Brathwaite, Martin Carter, Jane Cortez, or Amiri Baraka, I would write a poem so rude and rootsy and subversive that it make the goon poet turn white with envy. Like a candomblé voodoo kumina chant, a whole-time calypso or a slave song that get banned. But from granny right down to grand picnic, each and every one can recite that they want. Still, in the meantime, with me rhythm, with me rhyme, with me rough bass line, with me one sense of time, goon poet have a step in line. Buthelezi might have got couple thousand, but Mandela for him thousands of thousands of thousands of thousands. If I was a top-notch poet, like Chikaya Utamsi, Nicholas Goen, or Lana Goodison, I would write a poem so beautiful that it's simple. Like a plain girl with good brains and nice ways, with a sexy disposition and plenty compassion, with a sweet smile and a subtle style. Still, me not go on like a heap and bow and scrape. Me not go on like a heap peddling your puerile parchment ethnicity, with only a vague fleeting hint of authenticity. Like a black Lance Percival in reverse, or even worse, a babbling buffoon will lose him tongue. No, sir, not at all. Me got me rhythm, me got me rhyme, me got me rough bass line, me got me one sense of time. Goon poet have a step in line. Buthelezi might have got couple thousand, but Mandela for him thousands of thousands of thousands of thousands. Thank you. The second poem is not one of my poems, but I felt it was a poem which was fitting for the occasion, and it's one of my favorite poems of all time. It's a poem about, I think, poems can be read in many different ways, but for me, this is a poem about art and life, the meaning of art and life. Poem of Shape and Motion 1 by Martin Carter. I was wondering if I could shape this passion just as I wanted in solid fire. I was wondering if the strange combustion of my days, the tension of the world inside of me, and the strength of my heart were enough. I was wondering if I could stand as tall while the tide of the sea rose and fell. If the sky would recede as I went, or the earth would emerge as I came, to the door of the morning locked against the sun. I was wondering if I could make myself nothing but fire, pure and incorruptible. If the wound of the wind on my face would be healed by the work of my life, or the growth of the pain in my sleep would be stopped in the strife of my days. I was wondering if the agony of years could be traced to the seed of an hour, if the roots that spread out in the swamp ran too deep for the issuing flower. I was wondering if I could find myself all that I am in all I could be, if all the population of stars would be less than the things I could utter, and the challenge of space in my soul be filled by the shape I become.
Isn't it, when it's grand, look at it, all young and strong, and only person older than me is Crimson. But we're going to do a book on Baraka. And the call will go out next week. We'll see that you get letters here. It'll be on our website, thirdworldpressbooks.com. And we're looking for essays and writings in the areas in which he was most prolific. Obviously, poetry, plays, fiction, literary nonfiction, struggle in politics. The tentative title is Brilliant Flame, Amiri Baraka, Brilliant Flame. We want to try to have it out, Ross, for his birthday, if possible, in October, right? And I just asked Ross for the eulogy that he did at his father's. It was brilliant. It was brilliant, man. And so those of you who are writers and poets, so look out for it. And we're giving you about a 35, 40-day window so we can, really do it right, okay? And Woody is doing something at the Schomburg for Baraka. Saturday night? Saturday. Okay, all right.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful evening and a very rich sharing. I want to just share a last thing, and hopefully we'll have a few minutes if anybody wants to say something. What? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rashida Ismaili.
Ah, okay, thank you. The last piece the piece of Martin Carty, I absolutely adore that piece. And Linton, you recorded that. And you read it with music. Yes, I know this. It's really beautiful. I just wanted to share what I think it was 2011 or 2012, 2011. Amiri, Amina, Mel, and Jane and I were in Granada. Granada is an old Spanish city in Nicaragua for an international poetry festival. And we were having breakfast and we're sitting in this cafe and Amiri comes and he joins us and he says, you know, one of his words. I said, Amiri, it's first thing in the morning. You can't talk like that. He said, oh, shut up. And then he said, I said, what's wrong? He said, that Lucille, what's wrong with her? And he'd just gotten an email that Lucille Clifton had passed, and they were asking him to do a eulogy. And we were in Nicaragua. Earlier that day, we had the experience of the Haitian earthquake, and there was a Haitian poet there, and he asked all of us if the poets who were there would write a poem or something so that there could be that issue of solidarity with the Haitian people with this earthquake. So I started to write a series of poems about Haiti, but what I wanted to read is the one that I wrote for Lucille Clifton, because to me she's a part of the pantheon of Amiri and Jane. It's just been such a tremendous time of loss, but it's also been, like Felipe said, a wonderful time to reflect and remember and share. So this is called Dahomey Sister, and the reason it's called Dahomey Sister is because, as some of you know, Lucille traced part of her ancestry to Dahomey, and I was born in Cotonou, Dahomey, to also my father was from Nigeria. It's called Dahomey Sister. Your snow-framed face, chocolate-covering cheeks, lighted windows, your soul shines and tones shape the life you lead from ship to shore, from then to now. We said we'd meet when I went back, and you would come share a meal in my house, in my land, a land that binds us. And I am left now to wonder if your foremother was the one we lost. We mourned on Ancestral Day. We set our fruits for her, the one who rode the waves to where no one knows. But you, impetuous sister, would not wait, went on ahead without me. I wonder who directed your path. Perhaps she, whose face and name goes unnamed, came and led you safely home. I can't emphasize how important it is to be supportive of everyone, but certainly in a place like NYU, in a space like this, when you have someone in a position where they can do programs that transform, as you say, and have great effect on who we are and what we can become and how we can gather. I think it is extremely important to support them. And so I would urge you to, again, acquaint yourself with Mancha Diawara and Jaira Placide, and let them know how much you appreciate the work that they have done over the years, because it is no small thing. You have to justify what you do. You have to produce a program, and you have to justify it. And sometimes when people have controversy around them, they have to make a strong argument that there is a need for that voice, and there is a place where people can come and gather and hear that voice. And they've done this consistently over time, and I think we have to appreciate it. It's not enough just to come, but also just go over and say, you know, thank you very much, I appreciate what you do. You don't have to do beyond that. You also need to support Black Renaissance. This comes out of the Department of Institute of African American Affairs, and these are things that are very important. The work that they do is really, really remarkable, and it reflects the highest level of art and scholarship. So I hope that you will be supportive. And I guess finally, I would say the love and the respect that we have for Jane Cortez and Amiri Baraka must be reflected in the work that we do, in the ways that we treat each other, in the ways that we love ourselves, and that the ways that we respect the work that we say we do. If we are poets, if we are artists, we must be the best that we can. John Oliver Killens always said, the role of an artist is to make revolution irresistible. And that's where we should be going, because in that process, we also become honorable people. And that's what we should ascribe to be. They were honorable people, and if we say we love them, if we say they are our friends, then we must try to be worthy of being in their presence. So we say good night, we say we honor them, we appreciate them, and go and do a good deed.